Good morning. Hello, everybody. Jon Jones here with BAI, brand new Vice President of Operations. Really honor and privilege to be a part of this organization and to serve you all. And just want to welcome everybody to our first edition. Hey, Joe, good to see you. Welcome to our first edition of Winning Edge Wednesdays. Joe, how you doing? Joe, are you there? All right, my friends, as people will be trickling on, let's get going and delve into an awesome topic that we experience on a daily basis. You guys, I want to delve into a topic of how we coach ourselves and our clients through fear. I'm sure you'd all agree it's a big part of our lives, and it's important for us to be successful at what we do, coaching people in the franchise industry to achieve their goals and dreams. Overcoming fear is a big part of that. Look forward to delving into this conversation with you. Give it a couple more seconds and we'll get going. Guys, thanks for jumping on the call today. Good morning. If you guys are willing and able to engage a little bit, you just kind of say hello and let me know there. Or if you're listening, that's cool too. All right, guys, let's get into it. I want to start by putting this into your mind. Fear is the opposite of faith. Fear is the opposite of love. Fear leads to anger, right? According to Yoda, it leads to the dark side. Fear keeps us from pursuing our dreams. Fear kills businesses. It kills careers. We have seen this. Fear kills markets, economy, consumer confidence, growth. Fear, of course, kills deals in our industry. Fear keeps us from realizing our potential, perhaps most of all. And I believe we should all be united against this enemy. I think you would all agree on that. And it's a pretty tricky enemy, isn't it? Because fear is ingrained in us. It's part of us. We take it with us. It's in our DNA as a survival mechanism. And let's face it, it was probably extremely handy for human beings back when we were hunters and gatherers and we were competing against saber-toothed tigers in jungles. It was pretty important to have this survival mechanism where we are constantly looking for signals of things to be afraid of, things to tell us that danger might be upon us and to anticipate that, right? But now, man, the fear of death has evolved into the modern world of fear of failure, right? Fear of failure. And in today's mega competitive marketplace, if you want to compete and you want to win, you really have to be willing to experience rejection, failure, almost on a daily basis. It's something we need to learn how to navigate, how to manage, because it's not going anywhere. Fear is a powerful force. And before we got into, some strategies on helping our clients overcome fear, which I want to get into today, I want to first talk about, ourselves, what might be some strategies you all have for overcoming fear for yourself. So I think you guys would agree that if we're not good and if we don't have some techniques, strategies, tools on how we overcome fear for ourselves, then our ability to help others do that is not going to be as strong. I was curious if anybody has anything to share of maybe a personal strategy or approach that they take to fear that helps them stay focused, stay moving towards their goals, not allowing fear to dictate their behavior, but instead allowing their goals to dictate their behavior. Anybody have any ideas to share with that? Any strategies you might have personally that has helped you overcome fear? I wanted to share with you guys I purchased a pretty unique graduation present for my son. My son just graduated from high school, and he's going to be attending college here in the fall. And in October, I'm going to be sending him to a 3-day live seminar event with Tony Robbins in Southern California. And part of, you might have heard of this, but part of this experience is they are going to take the entire participants and they're going to walk across hot coals, right? And it's not about walking across hot coals. It's really about building a massive metaphor for overcoming fear. And not only that, it's also about providing people with some specific tools to overcome fear as well. Here's one way to approach overcoming fear from a peak performance standpoint, right? From a psychological peak performance standpoint. And Tony Robbins teaches the participants that we've got 3 really powerful tools at our disposal to help us overcome fear. And those tools are our physiology, our body, right? We are carrying with us an incredible medicine jar of chemicals that can literally create courage in our body. We can literally do that by activating our physiology in a very specific way, and that will help us go through uncertainty and fear. So physiology is one. The second one is our focus, right? Our focal point, getting really specific and really intentional about where we're going rather than looking at the circumstances, right? We've all heard that adage, if you're walking on a tightrope and there's 100 feet down, they'll probably tell you, don't look down, right? Don't look at what you fear, look at where you're going. And then the third tool you have at your disposal is your internal communication, your words, your dialogue, your vocabulary. And if you sync those 3 things, your physiology, your focal point, and your vocabulary, you could generate a unique state that will take you through fear. It's a pretty awesome exercise. I'm not going to go into too much more detail, but what it entails is pretty interesting when he teaches everybody to go walk across these hot coals, and you literally, a couple thousand people are all walking across hot coals together at about midnight. At any rate, what they do is they teach you how a very specific point to focus on as you walk across the hot coals. Last thing you want to do is scan the hot coals. You want to look at a very specific point before you approach the coals. And then second of all, everybody practices a specific triggering move with their body, whether it's pounding your chest or clapping or whatever it may be, but you practice kind of triggering this intensity in your body to create a physiological state to release endorphins, right? So everybody practices that. And then finally, he gives everybody a simple mantra to speak internally as you're walking across the coals. And that phrase is cool moss, cool moss. You're telling yourself it's just cool moss down there, not hot burning embers. And at any rate, it's pretty awesome when a bunch of people walk through these hot coals. So just a couple tools there. Realize that as human beings, sometimes it's just a tricky game when it comes to fear, right? If we put ourselves in a specific state, we know we're more courageous and more likely to take action in the face of fear. I wanted to, share that with you. And I think, we also know this about fear. Fear has been examined, you guys, by lots of people for a long, long time. I mean, let's face it, from the Torah to the Bible to Harvard Business Review, coaches and motivators of all kinds, great philosophers and writers, and of course, even modern psychology spends quite a bit of time examining fear and what it means and how we can overcome it. And what we find is this, that most agree that fear is not real. It only, lives in our own creation of imagination. And therefore, the goal is not to remove or pretend it doesn't exist, but to acknowledge fear, right? To coexist with it, right? To manage it. And in many cases, people will oftentimes say to use it, to take fear and reframe it and use it as a springboard, as a catalyst to launch activity. Pretty awesome if you can get to that level. Here's some ideas and quotes as we kind of get warmed up here a little bit more about this topic that are out there and ponder some of these ideas. Thinking will not overcome fear, but action will, said W. Clement Stone. And think about your clients for a moment, right? It's true. Sometimes analysis paralysis, right? And they tend to try to think themselves through the fear and the hesitations and the anxieties of their experience rather than taking action through it. You know, everything you want is on the other side of fear. That's a concept that's out there, right? It's certainly true for business and sales, isn't it? Everything you want is probably on the other side of fear. Here's a quote: "I am not afraid of storms, for I am learning how to sail my ship." What I love about that is it speaks to us that as we train, as we get more familiar, as we learn, as we master skills and gain competence, fear shrinks as well, doesn't it? You know, think about astronauts. Can you imagine the fear and uncertainty of getting in a rocket ship going into outer space? But what it allows these astronauts to step into these space shuttles and rockets is amazing intensive training right in a simulation. That's a big part of it as well. Courage is mastery of fear, not the absence of fear, says Mark Twain. If your goals and dreams don't scare you, perhaps they're not big enough. Meaning, you know, we need goals and dreams that are a little bit scary if we truly want the best that life has to offer, if we want to grow, or if we want to experience tremendous rewards. That's a great thing to focus on. I like this. Someone said, choose the great adventure. Be brave and afraid at the same time. And that's really what it's about, right? How do we just coexist with this fear and go anyways? And how do we help our clients and others on our team do the same? Faith requires fear and doubt, doesn't it? Think about that. I think you might agree, regardless of your spiritual or religious orientation, that, faith is just an awesome muscle and dynamic to master. And if you think about it, faith is not the absence of fear and absence of doubt. In fact, it requires these doubts. It requires these feelings of anxiety and fear, but then it's about going anyways. That's really the essence of faith. And of course, that's why when we exercise it, it's such a powerful improvement, and it's opportunity for us to gain tremendous victories that ultimately become who we are. I think you guys will all agree. I want you guys to take a moment right now amongst your busy day, all the things you guys got going on right now. Just take a quick moment right now. I want you to think about something in your life that was important for you to pursue, but there was quite a bit of fear, quite a bit of uncertainty and anxiety. But you know what? You found the courage somehow, whatever you did to do that, but you found the courage to go through the fear. And I think you guys would agree that it's that experience and others like it that really contributed to who you are, right? And perhaps the best part of you, the strongest part. And now it's that solidarity and it's that reference in your life that you can bring to the table. It's like, hey, I overcame that. I know I can handle this, right? Think about that for a moment and realize that's the power that you have to tap into all the time. Isn't that awesome? And then coaching other people to do the same. So I want you guys to think about that. Let's face it, if we want to be great coaches and mentors to our clients, to others on our team, to help them through fear, then we, of course, need to exercise these abilities within ourselves and be good at this ourselves. We always need to work on ourselves, right? As well as coaching other people. And fear is tricky. And I want to transition now. Let's shift gears a little bit, y'all, and let's get into a little bit more of the practical application of helping and coaching our clients through fear. And it's kind of funny. As you guys may have known, I used to work with Tony Robbins, and one of the things he said about fear is that achievers, like all of you on this call, achievers, ambitious people like you guys, you probably don't, use the word fear very much, right? You might say things like, oh, I'm stressed or overwhelmed, things like that. It's really fear, right? It's just kind of our egos maybe trying to protect us a little bit. But that's the thing about fear and why it's kind of tricky to overcome, is because oftentimes we're not honest about fear, right? And let's think about our clients. Think about how often our clients, of course, you're getting ready to invest, a significant amount of capital, perhaps in many cases, people's life savings, and, tapping into financial resources that are incredibly uncomfortable to pursue this dream and goal of owning a business. What an incredible undertaking and an exercise of faith. And of course, fear is going to raise its ugly head in this process, right? But let's face it, how often do our clients tell us, gosh, I love this business. It's awesome. The support is beyond what I would expect. Every person that I talked to within the company was really good and sincere. I really feel this is a great fit. But you know what? I'm just scared to death, and I don't want to move forward because, at this point in my life, being middle-aged, I just don't know if I could handle a failure at this point in my life, and I'm really scared. We probably don't hear that very often. So what do we hear? We might hear a bunch of other types of excuses and anecdotes, and hesitations. Maybe you guys could think of them, but here's some ideas that I wrote down. Maybe you guys could think of some of the things you guys hear all the time, and ask yourself: is it really this, or is it fear? I want to talk to a couple more franchisees. Maybe I'd like to talk to some franchisees that maybe aren't doing so great. I'd like to kind of know those who are struggling, why they might be struggling. Here's a question: what does the average person make? Right? What does the average person make? We're looking at other ways to invest. We just said we're going to be looking at some other ways to invest right now. When is the next new franchisee training after this next one, right? Sometimes a timeline is based upon the training programs that are available to new franchisees. I remember that being a big one, especially when I was on the franchisor side. When is the next training after that one? And then what's the one after that, right? Or let's see what happens after an election, right? Let's see how the market responds after the tariff war, after the Middle East war, after the flu season. If or here's a big one. A few very lucrative job openings have come up that are available now in my field. So I really want to, pursue those. For a while, I didn't realize that those opportunities were there. And so I was thinking about how I was going to have to get into franchising, but I'm not sure I got these opportunities I want to pursue. Right. You guys get the idea. You know more better than I do, the different things that we hear, that we say. And then what happens is sometimes, because we want to connect, we want to maintain rapport, right? And we want to be respectful to our clients who deserve our respect. And so we tend to kind of help coach them navigate these objections and excuses, which probably the vast majority of time are not even real, right? Because it's fear, right? And just having a conversation about fear might not be so comfortable. And for those of you who are maybe new to the industry, the more you get comfortable and overcome your fear about having conversations about fear and going that deep, going to that level of connection, of trust with a client, is something I would encourage you to work towards. And perhaps that could be something we could do together, work on together on how we could help you do that, if that's something you feel you need to get better at and get more comfortable playing in that role to take your business to the next level, right? And I want you guys to think about this. I want you guys to think about, what strategies do you have to help coach your clients through fear, right? So during the process, we need to be looking and being sensitive to know that our clients are going to become fearful at some point, right? When stuff starts getting real, they start having validation calls, or when they start really getting into FDDs and who knows, talking to lawyers or whatever those little steps are, that all of a sudden it hits, oh, this is getting real here. And then all of a sudden the fear starts to kick in, and all of a sudden they start pulling back from the process. Their engagement starts to decrease, right? You can feel their confidence level start to wind down. You're not getting those really good questions anymore. The backpedaling and the moonwalking, I call it, the moonwalking back a little bit starts to take effect. I'm just curious, think about some strategies that you have, and I want to encourage you to have kind of a little playbook of some strategies that in your tool belt that you could use to coach your clients through fear. And again, maybe that's something we can work on together. I want to share with you some of the ideas that I have that I want to share, that I try to utilize and have conversations with my clients. And maybe you could steal some of these ideas and make it your own, or create your own playbook on how you coach your clients through fear. But so number one strategy. So here we are. One of 5 simple but powerful strategies on coaching your clients through fear is, number one is simple but very important. Acknowledge the fear. Acknowledge the fear. Talk about it. Talk about it. It's okay. It is part of the process. And let them know that it's part of the process. And have this conversation that, you know what? Having uncertainty, having some anxiety, maybe you could change the words around a little bit rather than just say fear, as you're going through this process, it's extremely normal. And that's what my process is designed to do. I want you to know you're in good hands, and I'm going to help you. We're going to get the information that you need. We're going to give you the honest answers. We're going to give you the opportunity to do incredible due diligence. You're going to be able to evaluate the right business from the inside out, to know that it's going to be right for you, to get you comfortable. Right? So we're going to do this together. Let them know, reframe them, that fear is part of the process and it's extremely natural. And then we're going to work together, take you through it, because it's worth it. Because the rewards of business ownership and entrepreneurship and success, and the lives that you can impact, and the financial rewards and the legacy you could bring to your family far outweighs the risk and the fears that might stand in our way. So I think you guys would agree that, you could have this conversation with your clients about, hey, in fact, having some fear is good, right? Because that's what's going to make this so rewarding, right? I have never met a successful entrepreneur that couldn't tell me about a time when, they felt like they were up against it and they were like, didn't know what was going to happen. They were afraid, but they persevered. And because they did, they realized how resourceful they could be, right? And then, man, because of that experience, they are now standing on a platform of certainty that very few people actually experience. This is the opportunity at hand, you guys, right? Let's face it, franchising is not for everyone, right? But the good news is you're not everyone, right? And let's face it, if you're going to pursue entrepreneurship, if you're going to pursue purchasing, investing in your own franchise opportunity, then there has to be something inside of you that says, I can do it. I'm worth it, right? And man, if these people can do it, I know I could do it. Perhaps I could do it better. People have that inside of them. Let's make sure we pull that out and bring that to the forefront. John F. Kennedy explained back in the late 60s, we're going to go to the moon, and we go to the moon and we do these difficult things for the reason that they are hard. That's why we do them, right? And so that might be a great conversation to have with your clients, just acknowledging the fear, that it's going to be part of the process. But in this journey, we're going to help you get the clarity and the information and the relationships and the support, and you're going to feel great about the opportunity ahead of you. But that little fear is never going to completely disappear, right? It's about helping your candidate your client navigate this and push through. The second strategy is a conversation that I call risk reversal. Risk reversal. Oftentimes it comes from a simple question like this: have you ever considered the risk of not moving forward? Right? Have you ever considered the risk of not moving forward? And have a conversation about, in life, one of our biggest enemies is regret, right? You know, Wayne Gretzky says you miss 100% of the shots you never take. You know, I think as a business person, as an entrepreneur, at some point you have to kind of realize that, you know what, I don't want to be at the end of my life and say, I wish I would have tried and I wish I could have saw what I was capable of doing and capable of becoming. We've all heard the adage and the cliche, but I believe it's true, right? We regret most in life, not the decisions we wish we didn't make, but, you know, the things we didn't do, right? Not the choices we made, the things we pursued, but we regret most in life the things we did not do. You know, have you ever considered the risk of staying where you are now, right? I will tell you this, and this might be very uncomfortable, but I'll tell you, I was able to get several deals through the finish line by having a conversation with my client about the worst case scenario. It's like, let's take a look at the worst case scenario here and let's find out, is it really that bad? Is somebody going to die? Right? Let's talk about this. Let's put it on the table. Let's evaluate the risk versus the reward. I can't remember who said it. I think it might have been Amelia Earhart that said, you know, just decide if the reward is worth the risk. And if it is, then get going, right? So you can have a conversation about a risk reversal. That could be an effective strategy as you're coaching your clients through fear. The third, and this is my favorite by far, and it speaks so well to the way that franchising is aligned, and that is this, guys. Maybe if you're able to take this notes and just meditate on this, but write this down. Have this conversation today with somebody, and that's this. Here's some awesome news. We live in a cause and effect world. We live in a cause and effect world. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, I'll give you an example. My grandmother used to make a perfect pumpkin pie that everybody loved, right? And my mother makes this pie. It's perfect, and everybody loves it. And now my wife makes the same perfect pumpkin pie. Everybody loves it. And how is this possible, you ask? Well, it's simply because they follow the formula. They follow the recipe, you guys, right? There is a specific, clear recipe to follow. And if you follow it, you get the result every single time. And here's the deal. You, as consultants in this industry, you are not going to lead a client into a franchise opportunity where there isn't a proven recipe, formula, system for success, right? So when we understand that, we're stepping into a business that has a proven model, and on top of that, we live in a cause and effect world. It puts the onus on the client to then make the decision to reduce risk, to overcome fear, not by seeking outside information, but by making the decision to follow the recipe, the decision to be coachable, to follow the model. Are you willing to do what it takes? That's the real question. That's where true certainty is going to be found. It's not going to be found in what the average franchisee is earning. It's going to be found in, there's a proven model. Are you willing to follow it? Think about this, you guys. Think about what percentage of people set a goal of losing weight, especially if it's a significant amount of weight. And this kind of comes to my mind because I'm in the middle of this right now. I set a goal to lose 100 pounds, you guys. And I recently had back surgery, and I've had gone through a lot of different things and been extremely sedentary with a bad back for years now. And so What percentage of people say they're going to lose 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 pounds? What percentage of those people actually do? I think you guys would agree the percentage is very, very small, right? But yet, if the individual truly decides and commits to the process, certainty is 100% guaranteed, right? And that right there is really the challenge of being human, right? Getting the distractions, the circumstances, and the fears that manifest all around us and the distractions, and just getting down to it. Are we willing to do what's necessary to win? Help your clients find certainty in that. Show them the proven model. Show them that executing this business is not a mystery. And I'll tell you what, you guys know, been coaching business owners and franchisees for quite a while now. And I will tell you, I have never, ever, ever in my travels came across a business owner, a franchisee owner, who was doing everything that they should be doing that was failing. I've never seen it. Just like you and I have never seen someone, right, eat broccoli and drink water and exercise every day and not lose weight. It cannot be done because we live in a cause and effect world. And I always think of the movie My Cousin Vinny. You guys remember that movie? And in the courtroom, Vinny is berating this witness and talking about cooking grits, and he says, do the laws of physics cease to exist on your stove? Look, if you do X, Y is going to occur. We live in a cause and effect world. If you do what's necessary, you'll get the results you want. Find certainty in that. And people don't gravitate towards finding certainty in that because they are taking accountability. But that's what we as coaches need to do, is help others be accountable to their goals, to their dreams, to their future, and helping them realize that we live in a cause and effect world, that we have a proven model in front of them, right? Are you willing to be coachable and execute the proven model? And if you are, have tremendous certainty as you approach the opportunity, right? My favorite there, cause and effect, I call it, right? And, if you make that decision to do what it takes, we really become unstoppable, right? How often have we seen people fail when they actually did everything that was necessary, right? So, fourth strategy, two more here. The fourth strategy is very simple, you've heard this before, and that is keeping the client's why in front of them, right? There's a lot of information going on, a lot of distractions. They're absorbing all this information, having all these conversations. During that process, it's our job to keep our client's purpose, their why, their vision, their mission in front of them, right? Napoleon Hill, some of you remember him. That's what I love about this industry. There's a lot of people that actually, when I say Napoleon Hill, know who I'm talking about. But Napoleon Hill, author of Think and Grow Rich, said this. He called it a definite chief aim. He said the most successful people in the world have a definite chief aim. And it's that definite chief aim that they fixate on, right? So instead of responding to the events and the circumstances around them, like Pavlov's dog, right? They fixate on their definite chief aim and their purpose. And that is what moves them towards purpose. And that is what helps them overcome obstacles along the way, because their vision, their definite chief aim is much bigger, much more clear, much more important to them than whatever distraction or circumstance fear might bring, right? He said this, he said, human beings subconsciously move in the direction of their most dominant thought. Human beings subconsciously move in the direction of their most dominant thought. That's why that definite chief aim was so critical to success stories. And if you think about it, if you don't have that definite chief aim that's well defined and clear and meaningful to you, then you won't fixate on it. You can't move in the direction of your dominant thought if you don't even have a dominant thought, right? And if you don't have a purposeful why in front of you that you're moving towards, then you will be a victim to the circumstance and the distractions. And of course, the biggest one being fear, right? Because remember, we've got this survival mechanism that makes us try to identify danger. You see the problem? If whatever we focus on, we move towards. And we are wired to focus on fear and danger. So we have to come up with a definite chief aim, a focal point, a purpose that's greater, much greater than any of those distractions or fears could ever be. And here's lastly, I want to share this with you. As consultants, as coaches, you guys, we are not going to be very good at helping our clients stay focused on their why, stay focused on their vision, if we don't know what it is. So, and we got to peel back the onion a little bit. We can't take some of these, surfacey, insincere answers like, oh yeah, I just want to replace the XYZ income. No. You got to dig in there and find out what their real motivation is, what their purpose is, what their why is, and then keep it in front of them. It's our job to do that, right? And what's awesome about that is you're doing that, it really reminds you to be doing the same. And that's what's so awesome about me having this conversation right now, because I'm reminding myself as I'm reminding you all as well. And then finally, fifth simple strategy is just, of course, realizing that human beings tend to do much more and become much more courageous when they know they're not alone, right? You are not alone, right? And I know there's a cliche in this industry, right? That in franchising, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. But it's true. As Brandon, our CEO here at BAI says, franchising is about people helping people in business. That's what this is, right? That's what allows us to overcome our fears, perhaps most of all, right? Is the collection, the gathering, the collaboration, the partnerships that allow us to move forward, right? And to move forward together with some support, at the same time achieving our own definition of freedom, what that means to us. It's just an awesome combination. But here's the thing we need to realize, that going at it alone is always going to generate fear. Going at it with somebody is going to dissipate the power of the fear, but only if that person is trusted, right? When I was a little boy, I was scared to death going to the deep end of the swimming pool. I don't know about you. I wouldn't go there. I'd be just, hanging on the side of the pool as tight as I possibly could. But when my dad was with me, I'd go in that deep end, no problem. I had a blast in the deep end when my dad was right there. But when he wasn't, hanging on to the side of the pool. But here's the thing, the trust was there. And here's the challenge to you and all of us. We have to become the person such that when we say to our client, hey, I've got you, right? During this process, I've got you, right? I'm going to help you through it. That has to mean something. It's not a script, you guys. We have to step into this role, into this purpose ourselves as coaches, as trusted advisors. We have the challenge of becoming the person such that when we say to our client, I've got you, that it has weight, And that's why we must continue to work on ourselves in personal and professional development is uber critical in, of course, life and in any business, but particularly in this business, as we are coaching people through fear to pursue their dreams, you guys, right? You know, who we have to become as trusted advisors, give that some thought, right? And of course, during your process, you guys are strategically introducing your clients to people that are trustworthy and sincere, right? Doing the validation, speaking to the leaders in the company, right? Helping your client realize that, man, I am not alone. And not only that, but I got these people with me who are sincere, who care, who are in it, who have that sense of purpose, and they have to feel it. They have to feel it. And this is what's so awesome about this business that we get to grow in. And I think, you know, there's also a tremendous spiritual opportunity as well. I was reminded of in Psalms, King David, who was also a musician, wrote some songs, and a very famous one we all know, and it starts with "The Lord is my shepherd," and in the middle of the song it talks about, "Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." Right? So when God is with you, right? When somebody that you trust is with you, it's amazing what we will do. It's amazing the courage that we can generate, and we have the opportunity to be that for others on a daily basis. Pretty awesome, right? So when it comes to coaching our clients through fear, I want to encourage you, think of some strategies, think of some tools that you have in your belt ready to go to coach your clients through fear, because we know it's going to show up. And man, it's okay if deals don't happen. It happens all the time. It's okay if a client goes one direction or changes their mind or whatever it is. But man, let's not lose to fear, right? As the ultimate coach, Mr. Miyagi, said, right? Okay to lose to opponent, not okay to lose to fear, right? So those are some ideas I want to share with you guys on the Winning Edge Wednesday, you guys, our first one here, at least my first one facilitating and sharing. Thank you guys for jumping on this call. I'll hang out for a few moments if anybody wants to chat or share some ideas, or if you want to reach out to me and schedule a call, we could talk further about this topic or any other topic you might want to discuss with me. Please think of me as a friend and a resource and a coach to help you achieve your goals and dreams as well. Thanks, you guys.